captive for centuries, the power of evil escapes.
The evil force is all-powerful. It will find you.
Ever searching, the dark power spreads terror to those closest to Superboy.
You should have left when you could. I am a force even you cannot reckon with.
On the next Superboy.
Hello, Superboy Beyond fans. Welcome back. Tom and Chris here again. Today we're going to do another one of our patented
patented commentary.
Patented commentary videos. Today we're going to take a season 2 episode. It is season 2, episode 11, The Power of Evil. And
I don't even remember what this one's about. It's been so long.
Just to give you guys a heads up, if you haven't seen this episode, it is one of the cringeworthy season 2 episodes.
Right.
It has a great guest star in it in the form of actor Keye Luke. Well, most fans will remember, from stuff like the 1940s Green Hornet serial.
Never watched.
He was also a big name in voice acting in the 70s. He was the voice of Zoltar on Battle of the Planets. And he was also in an episode of Star Trek.
Okay. I've probably seen that at some point. Maybe I'll recognize him when the episode comes up. It's been a very long time since I've watched this one.
Yep. He was in the episode Whom Gods Destroy. But for those who might, there is something that most people will remember him for. He was the old man in the Gremlins movies.
Yeah, I do know him then. Okay. Yeah, I know now that you've said that. Okay. Should we just get into this one then? As you say, this is kind of a cringeworthy one, so maybe as little introduction as we can give for it, the better, potentially.
Yeah.
But if this is your first time watching one of our commentaries, you're not going to hear any of the audio from the episode, but you will see like a heavily filtered version up there in the corner.
Right.
Well, in the middle, rather. And that's just so you can keep time with us. We'll count you in with a 3, 2, 1 play. And as long as you hit play at the same time as we do, you'll be watching alongside. It's full uncut commentary. So get ready.
Yep.
And hit play in 3, 2, 1, play. So the old man from Gremlins is in this one.
Yes.
See, that's a movie I've got to watch again. I think the last time I saw that movie, I was about 7 or 8. I remember very little about it, but I do remember enjoying it.
Yeah, this episode was made in between Gremlins 1 and 2. He only had a very small part in 2, and his character died.
2 was kind of crazy, if I remember right. It was a very strange sequel. But
John Glover playing a Donald Trump-esque character.
John Glover's just always great. I always like when he shows up in something. He's great in. Maybe we'll watch coming up to Christmas. We'll have to do a commentary on Scrooged because he plays like one of the TV execs that's sort of Bill Murray's what's the word, rival at the company.
Yes,
and he's great in that. Anyway,
the way the episode starts here, where we pan in on this box, it's really atmospheric.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I've always liked the design of the evil thing. It's kind of a strange looking design, kind of out there. But atmosphere wise, I don't know. All I can think when I see that is how long was that box just sat there unprotected?
Yeah.
Like, seriously, if it's that dangerous, have someone keep guard, you know?
Yep. So there's Key Luke on the left, and right next to him is an actor who shows up in a season 4 episode. We just did a commentary on it, Metamorphosis, with Roddy Piper.
Oh, he's one of the people that's been turned into an old man.
No, he's actually Nathan Steeps, the grandfather who gets revenge at the end.
Huh. Okay. How long ago was it that we did a commentary on that? It must have been a couple of months. It's funny how I've already
months.
About 2 months, yeah, and I've already forgotten most of, the guest stars in that. The only one I really was paying much attention to was Roddy Piper.
Well, that's the one you're supposed to be paying attention to.
Absolutely.
So basically, these two are essentially in like a Shangri-La like realm.
Mm.
And Andy is, as usual, being a dick.
Yeah. But let's face it, at this point, we don't want him to change.
Much.
Not much. I don't remember if this is a particularly good or bad Andy episode, to be fair.
It has its moments where he's being, typical cowardly Andy.
Yeah, like here.
But Lana is about to become a badass.
I wish there were more scenes of Lana acting like a badass. Gotta love it though, haven't you? You know. It's funny though when you see punks / thugs dressed like that. Obviously, it's very 80s since obviously when this was made. But I mean, what was with that one guy's shirt? He just had a big hole in the middle just so he could expose part of his chest. It's like, you sure that's not a woman's shirt designed to show cleavage?
I have no idea.
Maybe that's part of the rock and roll rebellion of it. I'm going to wear a woman's shirt and who's going to dare say anything to me about it?
And this is a character that we see once in the entire series, Seth. Apparently, he's been dating Lana for a while.
Despite the fact that he looks about 40.
I wouldn't say 40. I'd say maybe 33, 34, 35.
Still a little creepy dating a college student at that age. I know it's not breaking any laws, but it's still a little bit,
Yeah. At least he's not 80 years old and dating her.
True. And I know he's meant to be playing younger, I suppose. And let's face it, at this point in time, if they had a college student in a film, that usually meant that the actors were in their mid-30s anyway.
Yeah. Then again, remember, Gerard is in his 30s at this point.
Yeah.
But he doesn't look...
It's always worth remembering that despite playing one of the youngest versions of the character, he was actually the oldest actor to take on the role at the time he got cast.
Yeah.
Even older, I think. How old was George Reeves when he did his first serial? Because he looks a lot younger in The Mole Men than he does in the show.
George Reeves was born. They're not sure about the exact dates, and the next time we get Lou on, we should have him.
Ask what his opinion is.
Yeah, but the conflicting reports is that he was born in 1914, so at the time that he took the role in 50.
Because he does look a lot younger in Superman and the Mole Men.
He would have been about 38.
Oh, so But it's got to be George Reeves then that's the oldest one to have gotten the role. Maybe it's just an urban myth. But for some reason, that's something that I'd always heard said. But
yeah. I mean, Gerard is definitely older than Chris Reeve, but Chris Reeve looked older than Gerard does.
Yeah. I think Chris Reeve was taller as well, if I remember right, which helps a little bit. I will say, though, I don't think he looks older than Gerard in the first Superman movie and parts of Superman 2. By Superman 3, though, Reeve looked much older.
Yeah. But then again, it was a decade since he started filming the first film.
Yeah. Part 1 and 2, I mean, let's face it, the production history of that film was just a nightmare. I'm amazed that first film turned out as well as it did.
Yeah.
All the credit should go to Richard Donner for that, I think.
Definitely.
Oh, and obviously the creative consultant.
Tom Mankiewicz.
Yeah. But also, Tom Mankiewicz, the creative consultant that actually wrote like most of the script, but they refused to credit him. He should get a great deal of credit.
It's not that he wrote most of the script. He just took what they originally had that was done by Mario Puzo and
he completely rewrote it, though. He took what they did and
he
changed so much, because it was like, I remember seeing on the documentary, Donna was saying that it was like reading a novel and it had to be completely reformatted. Like the basic structure was there and some of the dialogue, but yeah, Mankiewicz deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, and of course, taking out some of the comedy elements, like, he's flying through the city once and
Telly Savalas.
Yeah, the Telly Savalas thing.
Yeah.
Which is funny because, when Bruce Timm and Paul Dini were doing Superman the Animated Series, their Superman, they based his look on Telly Savalas.
Yeah. It's funny, I saw someone's comment on Reddit not too long ago, and it was people talking about possible castings for like a new Lex Luthor and stuff. And one person suggested a black actor, and somebody else says, no, I can't see, like, Lex Luthor's got to be a white guy. And it's like, well, do you like Superman the Animated Series? Because he's very clearly supposed to be sort of like of Greek descent in that. So It's happened before. What's the problem? I don't see what difference it makes with Lex Luthor. It's not like he's one of the characters where part of his history is that he's a white supremacist or something,
Yeah.
Unless there's something specific. I do like when Lex is ginger, but I mean, you can get ginger people from basically anywhere. So again, no problems there.
Yeah. It all depends on how James Gunn does it.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Bradley Cooper gets it, though, to be honest. People have been wanting him to get the role for a long time. Mostly because there's that painting that was the cover of one of the Lex Luthor stories, and the artist very clearly based Lex's face on Bradley Cooper. So ever since then, people have been going like, oh, yeah, he'd be bloody good. Telly Savalas himself would have probably been an excellent Lex. It's kind of a shame that he wasn't actually even considered. Like, they wanted him for a cameo, but they wouldn't give him like the most famous bald character in comic book history.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they did offer him the role, but he couldn't do it because it was in the middle of filming Kojak.
Maybe. Or maybe he was like their second choice after, if Gene Hackman turned it down, kind of thing.
But then again, Telly Savalas was not as big of a name as Gene Hackman.
No, but if Hackman refused to do it for whatever reason, Telly Savalas, I think, would have been excellent.
Yeah, and they wouldn't have had to, go through all the BS, as it were, about Richard Donner having to convince Hackman to shave his mustache off.
Yeah,
or
I love that story though. I just love that.
Wear the bald cap. Telly Savalas was already bald. He didn't need to wear a bald cap.
Oh, it's this episode, by the way. It's the one from the credits where he's
Yeah.
There he is. I've got to say, I know this isn't one of the best episodes, but I'm quite enjoying all the practical effects and stuff that they've got throughout this. okay, there's a little bit of digital trickery here and there, but I love that it's almost all practical and it's just atmosphere. You're right. What you said right at the very start.
A lot of the problems with this episode are the execution, of the story itself.
Do you think it's one that would have benefited from having a second part to the story if it was able to be spread out over 42 minutes? Or is this one that you think could have been fine as one? It just needed to be tightened up in the script.
I think it could have used the second part, because this whole relationship with Seth just comes out of nowhere with Lana, And I get that there's supposed to be things going on in between episodes, but it almost seems forced, the relationship between the two of them.
Yeah. It's a shame this show didn't come just a little bit later, because that after, Batman the Animated Series with Two-Face, they probably would have just had Seth in an episode, like maybe the episode before or a couple of episodes before, just to establish like this guy's around, he's dating Lana, just so it's not completely out of nowhere. Wouldn't have killed him to do that.
Heck,
you wouldn't even necessarily have had to see him. You could have just had a line from Lana where she's like, well, I better get ready for my date with Seth, or something like that. Have her all excited as she leaves the room. That's all you would have needed.
Honestly, they didn't really even have to create this character. There was a background character from season 1 they could have said that she started dating. That long-haired guy, Henry.
Maybe.
But then again, he was one of the background actors from season 1 that they kind of phased out in season 2. I will say this, Stacey's acting here, it's great. It just feels like we didn't really get the chance to know this character before this. So, I think, 1 or 2 episodes before this, and then maybe this is a 2-parter, would have really established our like of the character.
Yeah, it's a similar problem to what I have with a lot of Star Trek episodes when they introduce love interests. If a character shows up for 1 episode, they have a love story, and then they break up by the end for whatever reason, I'm never emotionally invested in those stories, because who is this person that just shows up out of nowhere and then one of our lead characters apparently falls in love in 5 minutes? It's just, it always feels false to me. I always prefer if they set it up.
The only one that doesn't work on is the episode This Side of Paradise from season 1, where the love interest is for Spock and it's an old girlfriend who comes back.
See, I don't mind that. If they establish that the characters have a history, that's completely different.
Yeah.
But, it's when a character is literally introduced and then exits in 1 single episode, it just always feels a bit strange for me. And there are other exceptions, And since you established it was a past relationship that comes back, I mean, DS9 with the Jadzia Dax story when she meets the ex-wife of Curzon, I think it was.
No, it was the body before Curzon.
The one before Curzon. Just the fact that, they have this history, it was enough just to get me through that first little bit of the story. But, man, I wish they just introduced Seth maybe in an episode or 2 earlier. Even if it was just a line of dialogue establishing that Lana's dating somebody.
Yeah.
Lana wouldn't even necessarily have had to have been the one to say the dialogue. You could have just had Clark like moping a little bit because Lana's out on her date. Tons of ways you could have done it.
Yeah, you're right. Most of the stuff here is practical effects.
Yeah, and it may not be one of the best episodes, but I do think it's one of the best looking episodes. Especially from season 2, Stylistically, in terms of the lighting, it looks like a sort of halfway between what season 1 and 2's visual styles were, and then what season 3 and 4 would become. Like it's sort of a combination of both styles, and I kind of like it. I would have been okay if they'd stuck with a visual style similar to this, with the very saturated colors and all of that.
Yeah.
And I like that.
See the monster.
But that fist shot with the special effect, I think that was pretty damn good for the time, you know?
Yeah, just color it green, and we could have had a Green Lantern episode.
Yeah, absolutely. But that was a cool looking shot. And I like that they've got the wind machine going, so they've got, you know, the cape is flapping dramatically and all of that. It's a well-directed sequence.
Yeah, but a well-directed sequence does not make a well-executed episode.
No. And it's all down to the pacing. I think it needed to be just a little bit longer.
Yeah. Yeah. Establish Seth, like 2 or 3 episodes before, maybe have him, show up, take Lana out, at the end of an episode or something. Show that Clark is moping.
I mean, if you made it a 2-parter, you could literally just have part 1 be, Clark is, you have the Thing escape. Maybe it's causing some trouble, so you can have some action scenes with Superboy. But you could have like Lana and Seth dating, and the episode maybe could end with the cliffhanger that, oh God, the evil Thing is now in Seth. And that could have been the cliffhanger. And then part 2 could have just continued as this is, but with a little bit more room to breathe.
Yeah.
That probably would have fixed the whole thing.
Doing it the way you're suggesting, it's got shades of Revenge of the Alien to it.
That's okay. It's a good episode.
Yeah.
If you're going to have an episode that people are going to say it's kind of similar to, it's better that it's one of the good ones than the bad.
Yeah.
But also, that's a trope that's been done 1,000 times in comics and TV and all sorts. It's just the body snatcher story, isn't it? Yeah. Hell, it's even the ending for the pilot episode of Stargate SG-1 when, the guy comes back through the portal and you realise one of them's got a Gould in them now. It's, yeah.
I actually met that actor too.
Oh, yeah? What's he like?
Yeah. Really nice.
I like that guy. I like that guy. I think he was in Independence Day as well. So it's funny that he wasn't in the original Stargate movie, but then he was in the show and then he was in Independence Day. So he's got sort of a Roland Emmerich connection.
He's been in a lot of genre films and TV shows.
Yeah, I do like that guy.
We should find a role for him in season 5.
Oh, definitely. Now I'll just have to try and figure out whether he'll be a good guy or a bad guy. Because I kind of like him as a good guy, but he would probably be fantastic as the bad guy in something.
Well, when he was playing the Gould possessed, the hell was his name? Well, the Gould possessed character on Stargate, he was playing both good and bad.
Oh, wait, are you talking about Skara or the other guy?
No, the other guy.
Oh, good. I'll tell you what, flipping back and forth between good and evil, seemingly on a whim. Maybe he'd be a good Harvey Dent.
I don't think we cast Harvey Dent yet.
No, we haven't. He'd probably be excellent, But anyway, there it is, the power of evil. As always, we got a little bit off topic, a little bit as the commentary went on, but it was usually prompted by the episode at least. Not as bad as I remembered this one. Like we said, we've talked a lot about what doesn't work for us with this. We've talked about what we would do to fix it. At some point, we probably will do our podcast series, Superboy Rewrite, where we try and fix some bad episodes and, rewrite them like a season 5 episode and just, do one more draft. But Don't know when that will be. I don't know. What would you give this episode out of 10? On the season 2 scale, of course.
On the season 2 scale, I can't give it more than a 6. I really can't.
I don't know. I was going to go 6.5, 6.75, just purely for the practical effects. I think they're enjoyable enough that it bumps it up. Not a full point, but it bumps it up enough.
Yeah, I mean, what brings it down to 4 points for me, is this forced relationship with Seth. The underutilization of Key Luke.
Yeah, he's barely in it. And what's even the point? Just get anyone.
Yeah.
He barely even had any lines of dialogue as well. Like, I mean, it's not even like they were using him for his acting ability. Like, they might as well have just gone down the road to the nearest Chinese takeaway and just said, like, do you have an old bloke working in your kitchen that doesn't mind coming with us for 5 minutes? It would have basically been the same result.
Yeah.
I don't know. It does annoy me when, you get a good guest star and then you do fuck all with them. It's absolutely one of my worst pet peeves when it comes to genre shows like this. Yeah. And every show's guilty of it at some point, Stargate SG-1 had the guy that played Jigsaw from the Saw movies in one episode and never brought him back, even though we did see his society multiple times after that. That's a waste. But then again, maybe he was too busy shooting all the Saw sequels at the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what would you say?
Yeah. So the forced relationship with Seth, the underutilization of Key Luke. I mean, I could even deal with the fact that, Seth looks a good deal older than Lana,
Yeah. 35 at least.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just me judging because, I mean, they say it, don't they? When you look back on previous eras, fashion, haircuts and stuff, it all serves to make you look older. It's like you can see high school students from the 1940s and they look like they're in their mid-40s themselves. Yeah. And it's just purely because of the way they're dressed, the haircuts that they have on. Sometimes it's a harder life, so maybe, nutrition wasn't quite as good.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe this is just an 80s thing because he's got an 80s haircut. I see that and I just remember when my dad had that exact same haircut. So it's like I immediately picture him as nearly a 40-year-old man. That's nothing. That's not his fault. It's just a weird sort of thing. I do think he does look far too old though to be dating Lana. Could they not have found somebody in his 20s just so it wouldn't look quite so? I'd laugh if this guy was about 22 when he recorded this. It's like, I was only 22. What are you talking about? But yeah.
Yeah. But what keeps it up though is the practical effects. Even the little pre-CGI hand, that
which, let's face it, it's just they probably just shot a hand and it was just a filter or whatever the way they composited it. But I thought it worked really well. I've seen a hell of a lot worse, even on this very show. So it's, I thought it worked really well. So I can't quite give it a 6 myself. I was going to go 6.75. Would you be happy calling this a 6.5?
Yeah, let's go 6.5.
Yeah. Okay, so The Power of Evil, 6.5, an episode that when I was a kid, I made a fan film called Superboy, The Power of Evil. And yes, I stole the name directly from this episode. Unfortunately, that fan film is, as far as I can tell, nowhere on the internet. I've completely lost it, which is a huge shame because I would love to watch it again and laugh my ass off at how shit it is. All the complaints we had about this episode, I mean, apart from the love interest thing, because there wasn't a love interest in the fan film, this episode is Oscar worthy compared to my shitty attempt. I really wish I still had that. If anybody out there happens to be a fan, if you used to go on BatmanFanFilms.com back in the day and you happen to download my shitty Superboy fan film, which I managed to get put on that website by adding like a 30-second Batman cameo in it. That's how I justified it. But if you did happen to download it off that website and you still have it on hard drive somewhere, get in touch with me on Instagram, will you? Because I'd love to watch it again. I seriously doubt it, though. They say nothing is lost on the internet. Everything is on the internet forever. But, yeah. I disagree. Because when you actually want to find something on the internet, suddenly it's nowhere to be found. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to tune in again next week where we'll probably be doing another commentary. But we don't know what we'll be actually doing a commentary on just yet. So I guess you'll just have to wait and see. We'll see you then. Bye.
Viacom.